in a couple of minutes, but if you are joining us, please feel free to introduce yourself, say where you're coming from, what institution you're coming from. And Sarah and Neil, I've thought very long about the icebreaker that I have today, and I would like you both to participate. But I want to hear everybody's favorite holiday movie. So when you introduce yourself in the chat, your name, your institution, and your favorite holiday movie, and before anybody asks, I do count Die Hard as a holiday movie. So I don't want to see any back and forth in the chat about whether or not Die Hard counts. Yeah. Neil, I saw two thumbs up. You're a Die Hard
I'm
fan?
a diehard fan. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
now, do you consider Gremlins a holiday movie?
Oh, I haven't seen Gremlins in years. I feel like,
Yeah.
yes, I feel like it has to be if we're using the same criteria
Yes.
there.
Yes. We should.
Yeah.
We should.
That's a throwback,
It
Neil,
is,
Gremlins.
right?
Yeah. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I'd have to say the classic A Christmas Story, the leg lamp, maybe a family vacation. Probably Elf has to be one of my all-time favorites as well.
I love that. I don't know if I can count Home Alone as a classic anymore,
Oh,
but I feel like Home
God,
Alone, yeah.
Home Alone.
There's just something about Kevin McAllister living his best, like eating the sundae, watching
Yeah.
the, rated R movie. Like,
Yeah.
I love that one. Another question, do we count the Harry Potter movies as holiday movies?
I don't.
I'd say no,
No,
but
oh, got a no on both of those. They always came
no.
out around Thanksgiving, Christmas. They always have a scene,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
agree they're a little beyond um the the typical holiday movie. Oh, we've got a nice mix here. The Grinch getting a nice shout out here. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer from our partners at CCBC. A lot of Christmas stories, a lot of Alps in here. Sarah, yep. Oh, Love Actually, a controversial one,
Ooh.
Paula.
Yeah.
That's a millennial, right? Millennials are definitely into
How about
the
the Muppets Christmas movie?
oh, the Muppets.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Got a Die Hard in here too. Fantastic. Some I've never heard of. The Circle of Love. Wait, Many Colors. Dolly Parton's Christmas of Many Colors, Circle of Love. I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan, so I feel like that's got to be a good one. Tracy from New River in West Virginia. So I feel like you're holding down the fort there, Tracy, for Dolly Parton. I love to see that. Some lots of ones I haven't. Nightmare Before Christmas. I just saw that last year. I'm late to the game
Ah.
on Nightmare Before Christmas. Fantastic one. And then, of course, our Christmas Vacation. The number of times I have seen in our internal Slack channel, it's a Butte, Clark. It works for everything. It works for literally everything. You'd be surprised how many times that catchphrase works.
I almost got that t-shirt. More so because of my last name.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but classic.
classic. And you've got your Christmas blazer on too
I
today, Sarah.
did. Yes, my thrifted Christmas blazer.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. All I'm seeing is the is the
Right,
Christmas
the carpet was
story
done,
quotes in
yeah.
there. I love this. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. It's a little past 1 minute past the hour, and I'm so excited to get started. I'm so excited for Sarah and Neil to talk about their experience and their journey with agents. But I do want to start by thanking everybody for joining us today. We're going to walk through how Southeastern University didn't just experiment with their AI agents, they really operationalized them and transformed a lot of their enrollment workflows. In 90 days. So you get to hear literally from boots on the ground on how this worked on a particular campus. So I'm really excited about that. It's not theoretical. We're talking about a real case study. We'll have real outcomes. We're also going to share some pain points and some constraints and some lessons learned. So a very real, authentic conversation today, directly from two leaders who helped make it happen. So here's how we're going to spend our time today. We're going to hear a little bit from Sarah and Neil about who they are, about Southeastern. We're going to take a quick look at what's happening across enrollment. I have a feeling that everybody in this room knows some of the challenges that we're dealing with when it comes to the state of enrollment operations, but we really want to level set and make sure that we understand that current landscape. And then we're going to dive right into SEU's journey. We're going to talk about their first agent agent, rolling out that first agent, to what a full AI workforce looks like, cover those results, hear about your plans for what's coming up next in the new year, and we will save time for questions. This is being recorded, everybody, so we will send out a recording afterwards, and we will have live Q&A, so please type your questions in the chat. Josh, our VP of Marketing, is monitoring the chat, and we'll keep an eye on that. Before I introduce our esteemed guest today, I will introduce myself. My name is Daniela Norden. I am VP of Platform Enablement. I am your host today. I actually just hit my 3-year anniversary at Element 451, so I've been here about 3 years. I oversee our customer delivery team. So if you are a partner and you have onboarded with Element, that's my team that help guides you there. If you've got a managed API integration delivery, that's my team every step of the way with you there. And our customer care and live support team. If you've ever asked a question I'll even include Flint, our AI agent, as an honorary team member, but Chase, Victoria, and JoJo, really, it's my team that's that face that's helping you navigate and finding ways to optimize Element to meet your student engagement needs. I'm super excited to introduce Sarah Clark, the Chief Enrollment Officer at SEU, and Neil Dyer, the Chief Technology Officer. But they don't want to hear from me anymore. Sarah, tell them a little bit about you, how long you've been at SEU, about your role, and then we'll kick it over to Neil.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Daniela, for the warm introduction. We have really loved being partners with Element. The new CRM has done incredible things for our productivity here at Southeastern. So we are happy to be here and tell you all about kind of how we've been able to utilize that in just the very recent past. So as you mentioned, my name is Sarah Clark. I'm the Chief Enrollment Officer for Southeastern University. I have been here just over 12 years in that capacity. And so my role is to oversee all of the admission and recruitment efforts for Southeastern. So in that time, when I got here, we started out with just over 2,500 students. To this fall, we saw an incoming class of 13,636 students. Yes, so how did we do that? It wasn't all traditional students coming to our main campus. We diversified our delivery opportunities for students. And so we have students in the traditional main campus delivery. We have adult continuing education online students. We have over 20 graduate and doctoral programs. We have a system of partner sites that we refer to as the SEU network. We actually, as a Christian university, partner with churches across the country. They oftentimes have their own leadership programs. Now they're able to offer that practical experience alongside accredited degree programs powered by SEU, and then students learn in their own communities. We also offer dual enrollment. We have various partnerships, and I could go on. So we do have a variety of different opportunities for students in that role. Our team also oversees all prospective campus student visit and events. We run the customer service department. We call it SEU Central, but they are in charge of all of the incoming calls to the university and assisting in recruitment activities. And then our internal data management system is operated for the enrollment purposes inside our department. But with that, I will turn it over to Neil. Go ahead and you can introduce yourself, Neil.
Yeah, hey everybody. Neil Dyer. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Southeastern, and I oversee our day-to-day operations of our IT department, but also help the university drive digital innovation across the campus. So we work hand in hand with all of these departments that they need more efficiency, they need more productivity, they need to do more with even less, it seems like every year. So technology really steps in and we augment what they do with technology. And organizations like Element 451 make it easy because we're able to bring these departments a full-fledged comprehensive platform that it's not tech heavy, it's not overly administratively heavy, and that helps, and we'll talk about this a little later, but that helps with us to be able to get out of their way and for them to just be able to own it and run with it and get the most out of it. So I've been here a little over 8 years and have got to experience a lot of the growth that's taken place and a lot of the changes. And I feel like we're right in the middle of it, and it's a lot of fun.
I love this. I love just the partnership of seeing enrollment and IT at the same table. The quote of the webinar will be "Get out of the way." I'm just going to call it now. It comes up a couple of times, so I hope that everybody is excited to dive in. I do want to talk just a little bit about the current landscape, what higher ed is facing right now before we dive into SEU's specific story, and just focus on the reality that most higher ed teams are facing. And Sarah, I think your team and Neil, absolutely, this goes beyond enrollment too, but across enrollment and student success, you said it, teams are being asked to do more with less, fewer staff, tighter budgets, higher expectations, higher student expectations too. I joke like if Gilmore Girls doesn't come onto my Netflix, every fall, like I'm upset with Netflix. I get mad at them. And these students expect that level of personalization, that level of access when it comes to their college search, but also just their college journey and their experience. This inquiry volumes haven't slowed down, but response expectations have accelerated. We've got students who are on at 3 a.m., asking questions and wanting to interact and get those answers. They expect near immediate answers. Industry data consistently shows that responding to an inquiry within the first 5 minutes can increase those conversion rates dramatically compared to responses that come in even an hour later. So if attention is that commodity that we're really trying to vie for here, it is an oversaturated market, right? So most enrollment officers don't have the human capacity to operate at 24/7. And Sarah's not asking her team to operate at 24/7, even though sometimes I'm sure you wish that you could. It's just not fair, right? But at the same time, enrollment officers like Sarah, you've got pressure, right? You've got pressure to reach those retention numbers, though maybe not because your numbers are stellar. So you've knocked them out of the park. You can tell them to get off your back now, right? But that pressure is on, right? And that pressure to maintain that number when there's staff burnout just escalates and compromises everything. So what can we do to help our teams out? Where we tend to focus a lot is those repetitive low value tasks. They're high volume, not low volume. And how can we alleviate that from, the day-to-day staff, and what those tasks are so that that time can be spent on meaningful student conversations. So put your AI to work, put those agents to work when it comes to answering those FAQs, right? They can fill those gaps that humans can't. They can operate around the clock. And then your humans can focus on judgment, on empathy, on strategy. And that's really what SEU, I feel like that's the focus and the intent that you put behind this. So that's the lens that I want everybody to keep in mind as we go into this webinar and as we hear about SEU's story. This isn't about replacing people. It's about building an enrollment operation that actually scales and that is meeting modern student expectations. One of the other biggest challenges, and this is probably one of my favorite slides here, isn't technology, it's actually silos and fragmentation, right? So we've got our silos here. You've got your different offices who are responsible for different things. I put analytics up at the moon because everybody owns analytics, so nobody owns analytics. It's out in outer space. Nobody knows what to do with it, right? You're often working in parallel lanes. The data that's supposed to connect everything lives in its own silos. So I just want, students, or I want you all to see that when students experience this, they get lost and they get stuck, right? You don't know which efforts are working, which ones are driving conversions. You don't know what data you're supposed to be looking at and where, and if that connects with data that you've got in another system, right? So really what we're talking about today is that SEU recognized this. They recognized this early. They understood that layering new technology on top of a broken, fragmented, siloed collaboration isn't going to solve anything, right? In fact, probably would make it worse. So instead of starting with that tool, I think you all started with your alignment. You started with getting your groups together, and really focusing on collaboration and foundation that made a lot of this rapid AI adoption possible. And not just because the technology was simple, though I love that shout out, Neil, but kudos to your team in making sure that you were organized and willing to move in lockstep with each other. So enough about me. We're going to turn it over to you guys. Tell us a little bit about Southeastern. Tell me about the before state. Sarah, what was chaos looking like? What were those bottlenecks? How'd you guys get together? Take us back to the beginning here.
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, Daniela, we were experiencing all of those pain points, slow response time, limited staff capacity, staff burnout, high turnover with our admissions staff due to said burnout, also being a private nonprofit university. Sometimes the salary amount just wasn't competitive enough. And so to have to deal with all of those challenges just wasn't worth it to a lot of our employees. And so one of the things we really were excited about was the opportunity to utilize technology to our benefit, to free up the time of our counselors to really have those engaging relationship building moments with the incoming students that not only fulfilled them and their desire to work with incoming students, provide them with a service and a product that would really help develop them and change them, but it also led to much happier students and higher yield. And that's in the very immediate, future. So Southeastern University, we are a private Christian university. As I mentioned, we were founded in 1935. We've had rapid growth throughout the last decade, and a lot of that is due to the vision of our president. He really believes that education is for everyone, and not everyone fits into the same box. And so I mentioned diversification before. We have provided a menu of accessible options for students who want to go move forward with their degree to be able to do that. And so we are all about helping students discover and develop their divine design. And to do that, we are the front door. And our team could not do that without the help of many departments across campus, but especially IT. Like I said, that technology is extremely important towards helping us realize those capacities. So just to give you a little glimpse of where we started at from a year-over-year perspective, inquiry volume, and some of those listening today may relate to these numbers. If you don't, you can still see the discrepancies in the increase in numbers. Just last year, we had a total of just over 99,000 inquiries in our funnel. Correct. But
Wow.
then this fall alone, we were up to 160,000. So we nearly doubled the amount of just inquiries that we were working with. Applications, we had about 6,500 total applications come in last year. This year, just this fall, we were at 8,206. And these are just in our full-time delivery degree seeking opportunities. We also had about 6,000 dual enrollment applications that were coming in at the same time. So our counselors were spread very thin. Each of our undergraduate counselors, if you split it up, had about 10,000 plus inquiries that they were supposed to be working with. Graduate counselors, about 1,500. Applications, the undergrad counselors were anywhere between 550 to 650 applications to one counselor, graduate about 400 to one. So it just is not sustainable. And like you mentioned, we are blessed to be continually growing. So we had to do something with that. Our average response time was about 48 plus hours. We all know in higher education, the sooner that you can connect with the student, the more likely they are to continue down that path towards conversion. And we're not the first. Our staff, instead of building relationships, they were spending their time drafting manual emails, trying to qualify inquiries. They were continually manually nudging applicants, asking for those missing application requirements. Data entry was consistently 2 to 4 weeks behind on processing transcripts. That in and of itself, is a big problem. And so that was impacting our yield. That was impacting our ability to connect with students. That was, again, impacting the staff's ability to not be burnt out. They were slow to decision making and just having ineffective engagement. So I'll turn it over to Neil. But at that point, we just said, Neil, please help. What can we do? And he came to us with a solution, and happened to be Element. And I said, great, we are all on board. Change whatever you need to. Just make it easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to rewind a few years to maybe kind of set the stage. So in 2018, 2020, we implemented Salesforce for our CRM. And that was a growing up time for us because we were moving from more of a homegrown type of CRM that was not integrated with our student information system and not really set up well for maybe the admissions counselors to really kind of utilize a CRM to work with students or applicants. And so we learned a lot. We learned about what we didn't know, and we learned about things that we should know. And so during those 5 years of working with Salesforce, we learned how to operate within a system and how to really use a CRM to help sustain our growth and help continue our growth. But what we did find, and Sarah alluded to this, was it just took a lot. Like administratively, it was a lot. And Salesforce is great in the sense if you've got a lot of money and you've got a lot of people and you've got a lot of time, and well, we didn't have either of those resources. So we found out that we needed something that was more agile and something that was easier to work on in the day-to-day, and it didn't require a heavy sense of technology use to use this thing. We like to say around here, we want to get people out from behind spreadsheets and in front of students. Because like Sarah said, there's a higher success rate when you are one-on-one with students. But if you're stuck in your system, it's like being stuck behind a spreadsheet all the time, and that doesn't benefit the student. So fast forward, I was actually working with one of our extension sites, and they were utilizing Element 451 for their day-to-day operations. They have a couple hundred students, and so I was sitting with them one day and we were trying to figure out how to get them connected into our Salesforce. And I said, wait a minute, spend a few minutes and show me what you've got. And we started working with them and I started looking at it. I came back and I remember I just went on to Element's website and literally just pinged the RFI on the website. And I was like, hey, I don't really know who you are, but I want to see what you got. And that started the conversation. And then I began to kind of float this over to Sarah and the team. And I'm like, hey, what if we could eliminate tech? What if we could eliminate time? What if we could automate things? And their eyes lit up. And we moved pretty quickly. I think from inquiry to conception to implementation was probably just over a year. And so we moved quickly. The timing was right. We had some leadership changes happening about the same time. And so it just really opened a door for us to move quickly. And we saw the return on investment really quickly as people begin to really be freed up to work with students or applicants. And I think that was the real benefit for us. And so it was a bit of a journey getting to where we were. When we moved to Salesforce, we really did a lot of evaluation of our processes and our workflows. And we grew up in a sense. Like we figured out, okay, we've got to get our act together and we've got to systemize things and process things and put things into a process. And so we were a lot more educated when we moved from Salesforce to Element, in that we knew what we wanted. Like we knew how we wanted it to work. We knew how we wanted flows set up. We knew what we didn't want. And so it was that, I think that really helped expedite the process as well. And I would say before anyone puts any hands to a keyboard, draw out your processes, put them on a whiteboard, put them on sticky notes, something, but write down and draw out like what is your ideal state and how do you want it to flow and how does it make it easy for a student? And then that just really helped us plug that into the system.
I love this. And I don't want to underemphasize how important this collaboration is. So having the visibility into those workflows,
Yeah.
having the partnership, having gone through it once together, and like knowing what you want to improve, it is just so huge because it really did create this foundation for success and for you guys to roll out a whole new strategy here. So
Yeah.
Sarah, yeah, so walk us through like what is the agent adoption like strategy? What was the timeline? Where did you start? Neil was out, he got out of your way. He said, we have an ideal state. Like, let's empower you. Like, let's roll. Tell us how this went.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just wanted to comment quickly on what Neil said. It really was that team collaborative effort. You know, we
Absolutely.
left all ego at the door, got into a
Yeah.
room with IT, with enrollment, with marketing, and we basically wrote down all of our processes and then asked questions. Why are we doing it this way? Does it need to be done this way? What is the student experience? And so we really worked before anything on building out what is the new ideal. And
Yeah.
since then, we've been able to, our marketing team does the automated communication flows and they're setting up lead journeys and segments. IT is helping with the application build and all of that. And we're consistently talking to each other with regularly scheduled meetings on everything that's happening. So everyone really did start on the same page in the initial onboarding.
Yeah.
And then Neil said, you have the product, work with it. And so the agent adoption, this couldn't have been more perfect timing. Right after the rollout of Element, we started looking at, how do we use AI to help us, with some of these challenges that we are facing. And at the time, Element hadn't yet launched their AI agents. And so we were, looking around at some other, opportunities that were out there, just seeing what was available. And then we went to the Engage Summit over the summer, yes, which was a fantastic event, and they launched the agent announcement, and I was like, well, that couldn't be more perfect. So it was late into the summer, and I thought, well, let's just get it started small, use what is available, and see what happens. So our first agent was really dedicated to late cycle leads. So anyone that was a fall interest, still in the inquiry stage, we worked on the sole goal of conversion to application to see if we could push them forward. And within our first week, and I think we're going to get into some of the results in a little bit, but preview, within the first week, we had 5 inquiry conversions just from one agent. And our staff did nothing for that. It ran on its own. And so
That's the
that
dream,
made us
right?
really
Yes.
excited. So we started with that one agent. We got very excited. And then instantly I was working with my executive director for data management, who oversees the enrollment side of the CRM, on, all right, you are now the manager for our digital workforce, and it is time to build employees. So we basically talked to our staff about what are those tasks that are taking up your time and are necessary for engagement with the students, but you don't need to be doing. So we gathered information. We did a listening exercise. We're looking at all of our deliveries and the various bottlenecks that they were experiencing, and then went into Element to see what agents are available, what tasks can they do, and how do we set them up? And so the agents that we started with were those late cycle recruiter agents. Those to work with new inquiries. So starting for this next enrollment cycle, we could hit the ground running and they could immediately reach out to any new inquiry in the funnel. Then we have set up the nurture engagement agents. So those that are helping to nudge applications to the next step. And then we really catered it to our delivery or modality. So those that are specific to graduate that can answer specific graduate questions based on what is in the knowledge base. And we really segmented them out in that way so that we were very clear on what each agent did. And you can see in the slide there that I have attached our agent matrix, and
I
this
love this.
is, yes,
I love
available
this.
for, thank you. I am a very visual person, and so I also loved this. But what we did was sit and write out all of the various agents we wanted to do. There's a second tab that goes into the jobs that we wanted to tie to each agent. And then a third on just the various attributes that we wanted each agent to have. And all of that information came out of the instructions in Element. So it was very simple to follow. We set up the matrix, knowing what we had to add to each agent. And then we just went in and plugged in data. Once we had that laid out, Jeremy started building his workforce, and so far they've been great. And again, we'll get into some of the results we've seen so far. But yeah, I think that the most fun part was naming them. As a Christian university, we decided that all of our agents should have biblical names. So that was fun. So yeah, we definitely had some fun describing their personalities, what they look like, who their names are. So yeah, it wasn't just work. It was a lot of fun to put together.
I love this. I think spreadsheets like speak to me, the organization, the sort of laying it out, the fact that you can start small, like you can say, you know what, let's just write it down. Let's just put out like what we have and categorize them, organize. So I just want everybody to know, like, you don't have to have a big, overproduced or highly produced, like you can start with what's that one agent, what's that one strategy, and then build from there and really be able to see how that grows and how this maintains. And Sarah, I just want to thank you on behalf of the participants for sharing a spreadsheet like that. It's a really nice takeaway to see just kind of how this was built, and what this looks like. And now we get to like know all of your agents, like, which one's your favorite and which one has the personality, like, but
The
such,
first week that she launched it, I remember she came into a meeting and she was talking about one of the names, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know
Who
that
is
person. Are they new? And she's like, oh, it's one of our agents.
Yep.
So, I mean, they were talking about them like they were real employees.
yes,
We
truly part of the team. Yeah.
And that's what we're looking at them as, is this was 15
Mhm.
new employees that basically I don't have to pay a salary. And yes, they may do those menial tasks, but that takes those tasks away from those that really need that engagement with that human. And they can support that. They can set up meetings with them. They can nudge them towards the application. They can talk to them at 2 a.m. if they really want to call them, and you'd be surprised at the number of people that do. So really helped with time zone issues that we were having. So
And to think about it from an employee perspective, they're not free. There's a spend, right? So
yes.
there's credits that's used for these, and so I know some folks would be hesitant because, well, they're not free or there's a cost, or it's not even remotely the cost of an employee. And
No.
you don't have to listen to them complain about your campus restaurant, or you don't have to put them on a time clock, or I mean, they just do their thing. And so the spend on it the ROI is massive compared to what you are spending.
Amazing. So true. Yes. Okay. So keep going. We've got a lot of questions coming in. I'm really excited to ask y'all. So I want to keep going here because I think we'll answer some of these too. But talk about scaling, right? You started, you have your matrix, you're ready to go, you're building on it. What did this timeline look like? What did you focus on for your semesters here?
Absolutely. And like I said, we're just getting started. So we started in the summer with those late cycle lead conversion. So really just trying to get the most out of, the last of what we were working with that summer. In this fall, we've started initially with the new inquiry conversion agents. So those recruiter agents, their goal is to get students to a preview event on campus or to sign up for one or to convert to an application. And in the same vein, we have been setting up the application agents to nudge those new applicants. And so we're following the enrollment cycle, and we
So
can
smart.
test and improve upon them as we go, so that by the end of this first year, we should have a staff where we know some of the, issues that may come up. We can make fixes, because some of them need to learn that just because someone called you at 11 p.m. The first time doesn't mean they want a phone call at 11 p.m. the next time. And we've run into a few of those instances, but it's all learning. And again, at least that person is getting a call instead of not. So we're focusing on the application completion agents next, and then we will be setting up the admission decision agents following that. So those that can actually recommend a decision to the enrollment counselor based on the pieces that the student has submitted in their application. I think that's going to be huge. That's going to limit, the time it takes, 10 to 15 minutes per application, down to now I really only have to focus on those that have that red flag. Following that, our financial aid agents to really help during that cycle, setting up appointments, reviewing, what to do with the award, where to go, how to look at them. And later phases, we really want to focus on student success and registration, getting into classes, understanding onboarding, orientation, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, a couple things that stand out to me about this. Love the idea of working in semesters, because we all know, like on campus, we tend to work like in semesters. Like this is the project for fall, and this is the project, for winter. So I'm sure the other team probably appreciated that too, having a project plan and being able to work that into like their workload, but also following the student journey here. You're going from inquiries to apps to current students. Like
Yep.
this is logical, so breaking it down, like taking what the work you're going to be doing or what your focus or your priority is for that time and just aligning it. Again, I think people tend to like overthink or try to do everything all at once, and it's like you can break it out into chunks. You can work smarter, not harder here. So I think this was really logical and strategic. Yeah. We've talked so much about all of the wonderful good things. It was totally smooth sailing. You hit no hiccups, right? It was completely, just beautiful. No, we said we were going to get real today. Y'all faced some constraints and you had some limits, and some of that was a product limitation. Talk a little bit about this and how you were strategic about overcoming some of your pain points.
Yeah, so we talked about that slow rollout and not, being so overwhelmed by the process. Well, Element, I think inadvertently set up some guardrails for us in that there is that capacity limitation of 10,000 users currently with the agent. So they are able to work with about 10,000 individual records at any given time. And so we really had to be smart about what does that look like, because we have many more than 10,000 inquiries or even applications at any given time that we're working on. So we really looked at that strategically in segmentation, and some of that you'll see in the matrix, but looking at what season of the cycle are we in, what is most urgent, what agent do I need to turn on, and if it's a quick goal they can reach, maybe I cycle through this and then move on to, my other agent ongoing conversation. So we're really just running agents in waves. We're prioritizing the funnel, and we are collaborating consistently with our friends at Element to let them know, hey, here is, where we're stuck. Is there a way to navigate this? So it really just led to more innovative ways of working through that process, even though there were, again, some of those constraints.
And I think what's been really cool to watch the team do this is they didn't wait until they had all the answers or have it all figured out, or I mean they didn't act carelessly, but they dove in and they started working, and then our leadership allows for just exploration and innovation. And so They didn't, we were figuring things out as we were going, but we were running, like we were going with it and running. We didn't wait around, and we didn't have like all the answers when we got started, but we had a great plan, and so we went with it. So I like the fact that they didn't just belabor on this and have every I dotted and every T crossed before they got moving.
It's such a nice pivot, and it does kind of go back to the foundation that you all laid because we find so often the tech is the first thing that gets thrown under the bus, and it's like, oh, it's easy to not do that or to not pivot or to not figure it out because, there's a limit or there's a constraint there. But I think that you all going in with this mindset, this partnership, this collaboration, seeing some quick wins helped you make this pivot and work together to kind of figure out how to make it work because as much as I would love to say, like, no tech has no limitations, like, of course, there's going to be some with any product that you're working with, right? So this was such a healthy way to approach this. And it worked. Sarah, you alluded to some results here. We've got some
Yes.
first week out numbers, and then we've got some year to date numbers. But tell us, like, what you saw when you rolled
Yeah.
this out.
Absolutely. So we went in with zero expectations, and
Also
so
smart.
then we would not be disappointed. But I figure anything is better than nothing. And again, we are going to learn alongside the AI as we both grow in this. However, I was very pleased with some of the initial results that we saw, and even some of the feedback that we are getting from the students that are interacting with the AI, which was more than I thought would actually take part in conversations with our agent. So in that very first week that we launched our first online recruiter agent, we had 5 immediate lead to application conversions. So they were in that inquiry stage. They had a conversation with the agent and they decided based on that conversation to move forward in the application process. Obviously, we're continuing to keep track. After the first month where we launched the additional recruiters, we had 11 lead to application conversions, 13 incomplete apps. So those that started an application went back in and then submitted it after a conversation. And the only engagement that they had at that point was with that AI agent. So that was not based on, oh, I talked to my counselor and the agent. It was solely based on the agent communication. So the counselors, it was very apparent that they had a meaningful reduction in their workload, and they were better able to focus on some higher impact engagements. Already, some of it is other things that we're doing. Some of it is the addition of our AI workforce, but we are already seeing almost a 50% increase in our application funnels just this fall. And yeah, it's incredible to see, but a lot of that is the counselors are able to spend more time engaging authentically with students, and those are leading to higher and better conversions.
Amazing. So that
Yeah.
was the first week, first month. I pulled some stats from June to July and
Yes.
how much time you have saved here.
Yeah.
And speaking of, reducing that load for your counselors, but over 1 million human minutes is saved. I mean, this is insane. And I'm sure that your team like really appreciates this. But talk about some of the, you mentioned the applications, like talk about some of the other numbers you've been seeing since this has been rolled out and running.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was enough for the counselors to say, oh my gosh, this has been incredible. But then Element provides us with the data of, what's actually happening. And we pulled it up and just this, from the summer on, we have already saved over 1 million minutes. And that is incredible. And so I actually looked at kind of saved enrollment counselor time, average per week, per team. So our traditional enrollment team, they have the largest number of leads. A lot of them are purchased. A lot of them are from travel and recruitment. Traditional team members are seeing 90 hours saved per week on average. Our online team working with adult students is seeing over 50 hours per week saved time. Graduate and our network, they're a little bit more unique audiences, but they are still seeing about 2 hours a week per counselor on average saved, which is huge when you're working with those students. So yeah, 200 or 2,930 hours total saved among our team members, and the agents themselves have had over 50,000 conversations since July. So it's been incredible. And again, we've seen that noticeable movement between funnel stages and already some yield improvements in the top of the funnel.
Fantastic. I'm sure your team appreciates this and is thanking you. But I'm sure the students are too. I mean, 50,000 conversations. Imagine some of those conversations may not have happened. You just don't have the bandwidth, you know?
Right.
So the fact that those agents handled over 50,000 conversations is incredible. Neil, I'm going to kick it to you because we've actually had some conversations about the ecosystem. So these agents don't operate in a vacuum. They are collecting data. They're collecting, we had a question about your student information system and how this data kind of plays. This kind of gets into, you know, what's next for SEU, but talk a little bit. When we were planning for this webinar, Neil mentioned, you know, systems of records and like data and what this looks like. Talk about your ecosystem, how this plays into IT efforts and your student information system, registration, enrollment, all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We over the years we've done a great job of building a data-driven culture. So data is important to every level of the organization, and people want it. People need to see it. And our Salesforce instance was directly integrated with Genzabar, which is our student information system. And Genzabar had always been our system of record for everything, all student records, all the way back to inquiry and application. So as we begin to engage with Element, we begin to see how rich the data was within the ecosystem, and made the decision to flip all of our admissions source of truth is going to be from Element. Now we're still in the process of making that switch and building that ecosystem and that culture around that system of record. But what we found was we were trying to, I guess for lack of better sense, put a square peg into a round hole of trying to get the data out of Genzabar. It's richer and it's more comprehensive looking at it in Element and pulling it straight from there. So we're making that switch from a data perspective, and we'll have true funnel data. Sarah will be able to, at the minute, just look at data and make decisions based on budgets and based on, you know, which levers she needs to pull to, you know, to get results in different areas. If something's lagging behind in the funnel, she can immediately know that and then put her team on it. So we're not flying blind, or we're not guessing at it. And so it's important to understand, it's important for the teams to understand the importance of the data, but also then how do you use that data and where do you pull it from? And, you know, what do you want to see and what's the end result of that? And then you build accordingly. Like you set your stages and your milestones and your statuses up to match what you want to see. And so it's everything. But again, it's back to that collaboration. It's us working together. It's not us telling Sarah what she needs. It's us listening to the team and then building accordingly. It's Sarah telling us, hey, my team needs you've given us this. We said we needed this, but now we really need to see these metrics as well. And so that the elimination of the silos then helps everything get unlocked and helps us to operate a lot more efficiently and effectively as we share all this information, look at all this information, pull the analytics. It's a lot cleaner.
I love this. We often talk about if you can't segment on it, if you can't communicate it on it, if you can't report on it, then don't bring it in, you
Right.
know, like that's sort of the gold standard of, you know, when we think about data. But we also have partners who think that they need all data living in all systems, you know? So I think clarifying these swim lanes and clarifying the use cases for each of these just reduces some confusion, you know, and alleviates the stress that comes from, oh my gosh, I have to find this here, 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 or why isn't it working, and knowing what each system is intended to do and how it serves your students makes such a huge difference.
Yes.
I mean, I just love this. So we are coming to the end. I have so many good questions that I want to ask you all from the audience. They've got some great questions coming in here. But talk to us a little bit about what's next. Okay, first of all, I don't want to discount. You've come a long way. You have done a lot of work, my friends. So I don't want to downplay that, but I know you've got plans to continue to grow. What are you thinking that's next for y'all? You mentioned student success and financial aid. Talk to us about those plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So agent expansion, that is next. And I have to say, I believe the agents have done more work on this than we have. So it really, it seems like it is a lot, but we took, a brainstorming day, dedicated time to really laying out what it is we wanted to see, listening to the team, and then building it out. So a few days of, dedicated work into this, and then it was just about building and launching. And now it's just following up and looking through those conversations and making sure the agents are doing what they're intended to do. So very excited about what's next. We've built all of the agents. Now we're building their jobs in order to launch them. And so we are expanding our agents into the admission decision processing, and also working with the transcripts, helping students to identify transfer credits. Then we are going to be building the financial aid support agents to help with our award letter season. And then as we are expanding our Element platform, going to work with creating those student success and retention agents to help with the following enrollment piece. So that's on our side.
Amazing. And Neil, you've got this migration coming, I guess, for the Element maintaining that admissions, system of record. Anything on the IT side that you're excited about?
Yeah, we are launching, or we'll be working with you guys to launch Student Hub. So we're excited to see what the experience from the students can be related to this. And then someone had asked a question about do we have a bi-directional integration with Genzabar? As of now, it's most data is going from Element to Genzabar with a few key data points that's coming back. But then our next step is to bring in enrollment data into Element. So that we can begin to use some of the student success metrics, and in those student pages, make the experience for the students a lot richer.
Amazing. I just want to thank you both. This has been a wealth of information, for sharing your experience, for being real about the experience that you had. Just round of applause before I open it up to a lot of these really great questions. So I hope y'all will hang on a little bit longer and hear some of these questions. But when the matrix was up, Sarah, we got a lot of questions about how many people. So how many people did it take to implement? How many people are maintaining the agents, are building the agents? Talk a little bit about what that looks like. How could you assign this project on your team? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, so that, again, we all kind of shared in the process of dreaming up our workforce. So who is ideal, working with each of the teams on, what are those needs that you have. And then we decided on a specific individual to take ownership of managing this project. So really, the director of our AI agents. And he was able to go in and set up every single one of the agents based on the matrix that we built. We pulled all of those headings, all of those areas right out of, the build instructions in the Element. So we worked together to fill that out. He just went in, set them all up. And then that individual is also the director for our SEU Central team. They are our customer service, work with the website chat bots, answering all the phone inquiries, chat inquiries. And so their team is now being dedicated to also managing, reviewing conversations, agent conversations. And so it's just become part of their job in the maintenance. But yeah, one individual basically.
Amazing. I hope their title is Director of AI Agents. I feel like everybody should have that title
If he
added
wants
in.
it, we will add it.
That's fantastic. That you kind of segued nicely into this. So Jane had a question about what does quality assurance look like to ensure accurate and good performance of the agents? I'm assuming you mentioned that there's reviewing, there's a rhythm there. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, there is reviewing. There's also reporting on the agent. So, looking at some of those statistics, the numbers, actually going in and taking some time to audit conversations, setting up segments. If a conversation falls or there isn't continued conversation, well, why is that? Do we need to make a tweak to the agent, or, what was the conversation looking like? Also reviewing the knowledge hub, making sure the information is in the knowledge hub or that the agent is pulling from the correct direction. And so, yeah, the tools are right there in agent or in element. It's just about setting up the correct workflows.
Yeah. Neil, I think this question is for you. What was the timeline from moving from Salesforce to Element? And did you implement it all at once or did you all do it in phases?
We have a saying around here that we move fast and break things, and it was an unrealistic time frame. And I want to say it was we signed the contract in September, and we went live in May,
Wow.
and then we kept Salesforce running for certain things until October, and then that's when we turned off of our contract. But I would say we were 90% running in Element by June. So there were a few partnerships that we had to get out of Salesforce, but it was fast and it was very quick. But I think there was some benefit to that we didn't have to belabor or overthink things. But we also had a lot of our junk figured out ahead of time. So
Yeah.
if you're struggling with processes and you don't have things well spelled out, it might take longer, because I would suggest don't implement any technology until you've got that figured out.
Yeah. Great tip there. Um,
And
Sarah,
Element helps with that. Like,
well,
they helped us a lot with best practices in some areas and things. So not just they didn't just help us launch the technology, but they also helped us with some of our workflows and processes that we needed to shore up.
amazing. I love hearing that. A question. And actually, I'm going to take liberty with Nikki's question here, because they're asking how many AI agents handled all of the activity. So, like the sort of year end, like the total. But I also want to know how many current AI agents you have too. So, how many agents are running? How many agents helped you get to sort of those big, like that 1 million number? But how many agents are currently in your workforce now?
So in our workforce, we have a total of 15 agents that have been set up. We are working on finalizing our customer service agents, so they are not set up yet, but not all of them are running yet. So we built them, and you can do that ahead of time. They're really not going to start running until they have jobs to do. So we have a total of, I think it was 8 total agents working jobs that got to that 1 million number. So half of our staff, our agent staff, was able to work through those 50,000 minutes. So I can only imagine what the rest will do once we get them set up. Really, like we mentioned, that only constraint is there is the limitation on the number of accounts they can work with at once. So once that expands, so will we.
Yeah, it's awesome. No limit to the number of agents you can have in Element, and you can customize them too. So we do have some pre-built, like the academic advisor, the peer advisor, but you can customize an agent too. We had somebody build an IT help desk, so Neil, they're coming for you, you know. So
Bring
you do
it.
you do have some liberties there, yeah. Speaking of IT, so Jason has a great question. What is IT's responsibility in agent development? Was this strictly the enrollment team? But more, I think more specifically, they're asking, is this something that IT has to do, or can someone non-IT do this work?
We have not been involved at all in the development or management of these agents. I mean, we could have, and we would have been more than happy to, but we literally, like I said, we got out of their way and said, run with it. If you need some help, let us know. We're here to help you, but they know more than we do at this point, and we're happy about that. So so no bandwidth on IT at all in this area.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it is very simple, even
Mhm.
for the non-technically
Right.
versed. It is very straightforward. The instructions are very clear. It's hard to screw it up, really.
Right. That's true.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'm seeing a couple of these questions sort of show up too, but the concern on campuses about AI taking jobs. So, was there a reduction in your current workforce? Would you see this as an augmentation? What would you say to people who are worried about, AI coming in and sort of taking over?
I'd say we're on a pretty shoestring staff already. So no, for us, it's been complete augmentation.
Yeah, and if anything, it's helping reduce turnover of our
Yeah.
current staff. The nature of the job is going to change. So yes, we did have a student team that was working on doing calls during certain hours. But there are many other things that we can dedicate, our student leadership employees to, that isn't sitting on the phone and leaving voicemails.
Yes.
And so it's allowing for more intentional relationship building and interactions with the students that are making a bigger impact. Those that are not making the calls are now managing the agents that do make the calls. And so it's just about shifting the nature of the job to fit the current context.
I love that. I think we've got time for one more question, but I am getting a lot of requests for your spreadsheets. So
Mhm.
yes, we will share the request for the matrix and the spreadsheet. Sarah cleaned it up and made a lovely public facing one for everybody to be able to use. So we will share that when we share the recording. But I've got one more question, and it's more about like the conversion and sort of metrics here. So Marilyn says, you mentioned converting student inquiries to applications, but how do you access those inquiries? Is Element sort of creating those inquiries for you? How do you go about making sure they get assigned to the right person? How are they being nurtured? Talk a little bit about what a student inquiry generation looks like from an agent.
Yeah, so an agent could work with inquiry generation. Obviously, if I'm coming to the website, I'm speaking to a agent directly or calling in to a number. It will take the information and then create a inquiry in the system. What we have done, the majority of these are from the existing inquiries in our system. So anytime we're at a recruitment event, anytime a student fills out an RFI form, anytime we purchase a list of names and those are imported into the system, we then create segments and jobs that the agent is then tasked to, so that the population is already available, and that's just about defining exactly what that job is. Who are they talking to? What is the makeup of this inquiry group, and what goals do I have when talking to them? And then Element will say, okay, your goal was to set up an appointment. The agent has completed 6 appointments or 6 goals, and it'll track it that way.
Amazing. Cannot thank you both enough for joining us today. There is a QR code up here for everybody. If you haven't tried the agents, scan the QR code, try the agents, try to stump them, see if we can generate inquiries and leads there. But Sarah, Neil, thank you so much. So excited to see what comes next for SEU. I'm sure for all of those who are coming to engage, stop by, see Sarah and Neil, talk to them, and really get, their story. But this has just been so wonderful. Thanks everybody for participating and for the questions and the engagement. Just an awesome way to spend an hour right before our holiday break. So go watch all of your holiday and favorite winter movies. And thank you again, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.